Well, the Chiefs made a couple recent roster moves, and even more could be made in the near future given the status of some players currently battling through injuries. So let's talk about that, as well as Mahomes and Travis Kelce both being optimistic the offense can still be who they believe they can be. Then we got to look at the situation involving Von Miller being able to play this week in the midst of some off-the-field issues, and look at Justyn Ross's current situation with his charges being dropped, yet he still remains on the commissioner's exempt list, and see if the NFL is being fair or not. But first, how about those? First up, I'm excited to be doing another giveaway with Chiefs bids featuring this full-size helmet signed by Isaiah Pacheco. But more on that in a bit, because despite Travis Kelce being old AF, injury prone, and more focused on his podcast and new relationship than he is on football, he somehow still leads the NFL in receiving yards for tight ends with 813, followed behind by TJ Hawkinson, who has 786, and George Kittle, who has 735. And while I'm obviously being sarcastic about all I just said regarding Kelce's commitment to excellence, just goes to show you how good this man really is at the game of football. He's getting bracketed, double-teamed, and sometimes triple-teamed in these games, and still leads the league for tight ends in yards and leads the team as well. He's the GOAT. Next up, Patrick Mahomes was recently announced as the Chiefs' Walter Payton Man of the Year award nominee, which is one of the highest honors by the NFL and signifies on-field excellence and a commitment towards serving their communities off the field. And you guys can actually help him win this award by voting on X/Twitter or on NFL.com/Man of the Year between December 5th and January 8th. And if Mahomes wins, he will be awarded an additional $35,000 for his charity, the 15 and the Mahomes Foundation. And from here, we got to talk about several players who didn't practice today, a couple recent roster moves that were made, and have a conversation about Von Miller and Justyn Ross to see if the league is showing inconsistencies when players are involved in troubling off-the-field issues. But first, we got to talk about Chiefs bids being back with another giveaway featuring this full-size helmet signed by Isaiah Pacheco in honor of his third game rushing for over 100 yards last week against the Packers. He also wrote out "How about those Chiefs" on there as a nod to the community, which is fire. And before I share with you how this can be won, I did want to let you guys know that Chiefs bids will be on site at Lot M for the Chiefs and Bills game at Arrowhead this Sunday, December 10th. And this is awesome because you'll be able to buy mystery boxes on location that features signed memorabilia of current or former Chiefs players, and there will be a chance to win other signed items as well via their Plinko board. So make sure to stop by Lot M if you're going to the game, but if you can't make it, totally fine, because you can also go to the official Chiefs app and navigate into the bids portion to find all kinds of signed memorabilia that you can bid on, featuring current players like Creed, Kelce, Tranquil, Chris Jones, and more, former players like Derek Johnson, Will Shields, and Lynn Dawson. Then there's even tickets on there, as well as various mystery boxes and more that gets updated all the time. So make sure to check that out if you haven't already. And as far as how to win this signed HBTC Isaiah Pacheco helmet, you'll need to head over to the Chiefs Bids private Facebook group. Link is at the top of the description. Join the group, wait for approval if you haven't already, then comment HBT Chiefs on their featured giveaway post that you'll find pinned to the top of the group right here in the featured section. And I'll announce the winner using a random comment picker this Monday, December 11th. So make sure to head on over to Chiefs Bids private Facebook page as soon as you're done watching this video and comment HBT Chiefs on that featured post for your chance to win this full-size helmet signed by Isaiah Pacheco. All right, let's get into this injury report from today because there's a lot to digest. First up was running back Isaiah Pacheco, who Andy Reid said came in with a shoulder contusion. Quote, "We'll see how he works out here. He's going to have that checked and won't work out today." Well, next was Brian Cook and his ankle sprain, with Big Red saying he's being evaluated still. Then Donovan Smith, who has a neck stinger, and Drue Tranquil is still in concussion protocol. So those are the four that didn't practice today. And with Pacheco not practicing today, CEH will probably be getting more reps. Deneric Prince was called up last weekend, but didn't play on offensive snap, but he's still an option. LaMichael Pirine has already been elevated from the practice squad to play 3 times, so the Chiefs can't elevate him again unless they sign him to the active roster. However, they did sign former Cardinals running back Keontae Ingram last week to the practice squad, and while I think he may need more time to learn the system, he's definitely an option as well. I'm not too concerned yet about Pacheco though, as a shoulder contusion, from what I understand, is a bruise, so I would imagine Pacheco, who is crazy as it is, does indeed end up playing, though of course it depends on the severity. Charles Goldman reported that a source told him the Chiefs are hopeful Pacheco will practice later this this week, at least in a limited capacity, so we will honestly just have to wait and see how he progresses throughout the week. I will say, no Pacheco equals no bueno, as he's been one of the clear bright spots on the offense all season long. Now, another reason why I ran through all the other running back options is because Jerick McKinnon is banged up as well. He hasn't played in a couple of weeks due to a lingering groin issue, which, as of right now, basically leaves CEH as the lone healthy starter in the running back room, depending on how severe Pacheco's bruise is. But hey, McKinnon did practice today, which is a positive sign, even though he was listed as a limited participant, and Andy said McKinnon, as well as Nick Bolton, are very close to returning, so we will see how he trends as the week goes on. Then, regarding Bryan Cook, who Andy Reid said is dealing with an ankle sprain, it's pretty incredible that his x-rays were negative considering his foot turned more than 180 degrees the wrong way. It was looking like this on the play he got injured. However, Andy did say he's still being evaluated, so I'm sure they are looking at a bunch of things in there. And to further complicate it all, Andy noted Monday after the Chiefs lost to the Packers that Bryan Cook has had work done on that ankle before. So who knows what they may find or have already found upon further testing and imaging. Now, with Bryan Cook out for a bit and possibly going on IR, can't rule it out just yet, the Chiefs did add some safety help to their practice squad yesterday, signing Tyree Gillespie, who played college ball at MU and was drafted in the 4th round of the 2021 NFL Draft by the Raiders. The 25-year-old played in 11 games with Vegas as a rookie, primarily playing on special teams before being traded to the Titans prior to the 2022 season. He was then waived by Tennessee just 2 weeks later and claimed off waivers by the Jags, eventually ending up on their practice squad before making his way to the Texans this past offseason, being released by them on September 1st, and now he finds himself in Kansas City. And I'll get to why I think this move was made in a moment, but first, Gillespie is an intriguing guy, nearing 6 feet tall, 207 pounds, and runs a 4.42 40. He had some high praises coming into the draft, but obviously that hasn't yet translated fully into the pros, as he's now on his 5th team since 2021. But hey, if anybody can mold this guy and get the best out of him, it's going to be defensive backs coach Dave Merritt of the Chiefs. He's one of the best in the business. So with all that being said, we shall see what becomes of Tyree Gillespie, but he was definitely added for some depth, and that's why I wouldn't be surprised to see safety Deon Bush signed to the active roster here soon if Cook moves to IR, or at the very least, see Bush called up from the practice squad a couple of times here in the meantime while they figure things out with Cook's ankle. After all, Deon Bush played over 300 special team snaps and 71 snaps on defense last year, so he definitely knows the system and will probably be up one way or another against the Bills. And I guess I should mention that in order to make room for the new safety, the Chiefs decided to release wide receiver Chase Cota from the practice squad for the time being. So, wide receiver Chase Cota out. Maybe he never returns, I don't know. Safety Tyree Gillespie in. Then, regarding Donovan Smith's neck stinger, it looks like Wayna Morris, the rookie who filled in for him last game and played pretty well, will get another go this week. And he said during his presser today that Wayna is a talented kid. There's a good chance that he's up again this week, noting he's confident in Wayna starting if needs be. And finally, the last injury mentioned was regarding linebacker Drue Tranquill, who is currently still in concussion protocol. This is another position group to watch because if Drue Tranquill for some reason isn't able to clear protocol soon enough and doesn't play Sunday, then we better hope and pray that Nick Bolton is well enough to return from IR. His 21-day window to return opened up last week, so it's a definite possibility, one that Chris Jones makes seem like is indeed about to happen.
I'm excited to have my linebacker back. That's my linebacker, man. I'm so excited to have him back.
And whether Chris Jones was just saying he's excited to have his linebacker back soon, like a general kind of a statement, or his answer means Nick is indeed coming back this week, time will obviously tell there. And while everybody else on the injury report did fully participate during Wednesday's practice, it's worth noting that Patrick Mahomes is on there with his injury being listed as his pectoral. Again, he fully participated, probably not going to be an issue. He spoke today at the presser, didn't really notice anything, but I would think he just got some treatment there on it. And if somebody's getting treatment, you have to report it. So there you go. I'm not super worried about it, but I did want to at least let you guys know that Patrick Mahomes did pop up unexpectedly on the injury report. Next up, when asked about the first 2 red zone drives against the Packers that ended up with field goals, Andy said he could have called better plays on the first series and a penalty on the second made it hard to overcome, but, quote, "We can fix all that stuff. We'll get it taken care of." Well, okay, Andy. In theory, sounds nice, sounds simple, but it's definitely been a continued issue all season long in the red zone. They are ranked 13th this season after being ranked 2nd last year. Andy noted that the key is for everyone to learn their mistakes and to keep a positive attitude about it all. So hopefully that helps. And regarding the wide receiver room, he thinks they are mentally where they need to be and are all trying to get better every day, which is the important thing. Well, I would love for them to try a little bit faster, maybe even a little bit harder if they are able, considering week 14 is here. Patrick Mahomes also spoke to the media today and said the team is confident every week that they can go out and win football games. He does have trust in the receivers, and he knows how hard they are working to get better every day. He wants to see more execution in the red zone, and then said he doesn't want to throw costly picks like he did last game. And while many people reamed Skyy Moore for the INT late in the Packers game, I was one of them, trust me. Mahomes said it was actually his own fault, not Skyy's. Skyy reacted one way to the coverage presented, and Mahomes threw it thinking Skyy would react another, but Mahomes said it was indeed his mistake on that one, saying he probably should have back-shouldered it to Skyy instead. So, for what it's worth, Mahomes put that on himself, even though I'd still have loved to see Skyy run through that route full speed. But either way, Skyy hasn't done a lot this season in terms of production, averaging just 2 catches for 20 yards a game, despite running the 3rd most receiving routes on the team behind only Travis Kelce and MVS. And he's been off with Mahomes many times this season, dropping multiple passes, and therefore the shift of blame obviously goes first to him based on his season-long body of work. And some of that play is just a great read by the Packers defensive back Nixon, who said he knew what was coming based on Mahomes' signal over to Skyy, but Mahomes said today in his presser that's the first time in the history of him playing with the Chiefs he made the check to that play.
I saw he said that he saw the thing and he knew the play, but it's the first time I've checked that play in my history of playing for the Kansas City Chiefs. So he definitely saw a signal. He did a great job, made a great play.
Travis Kelce also weighed in about the loss, seeming confident that they will get these things fixed.
I'm not worried about how everybody played. I think we got a lot of great character guys in this building that give a damn and want to get fixed, and we're going to get it fixed. That's never been a doubt in my mind. I mean, that's because of the head man, Andy Reid, setting the tone, setting the tempo, challenging guys, maybe even having to call a few guys out face to face. I love that shit, man.
And I left that last part in there because I did like to hear that Andy Reid himself has no problem calling out specific players if they mess up, though we all know he refuses to ever throw anybody under the bus publicly during his pressers. And everybody better be ready to go because the Bills are coming off a lot of rest due to last week being their bye week, and these guys are going to be fighting tooth and nail to win this game because they're fighting for their literal playoff spot each and every week right now. They also recently fired their offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey a few weeks ago, and since then, they've won a game and lost a game, but both games managed to put up at least 32 points. And with the Chiefs offense only averaging 22.9 points per game up until this point, we better hope they are able to not only put up more than their average, but also hope that the Chiefs defense shows up big as well. They're coming off their worst showing this season against the Packers, allowing more than 24 points for the first time this year, and therefore really need to show up and show out this week against a very high-powered offense in the Buffalo Bills. Then on the defensive side of the ball, the Bills are playing pretty well also, only allowing an average of 18.9 points per game, not far from Kansas City's defense that is currently 3rd best, allowing just 17.3 points per game. And speaking of the Bills defense, while outside linebacker Von Miller has basically been a non-factor so far this season, he has 0 sacks and just 1 tackle in his 2 games played this year. It looks like he will be playing this week despite being arrested last week due to allegations of domestic violence. Bills GM Brandon Beane spoke today, saying that not only is Miller available to play this week, but he also doesn't anticipate him being placed on the commissioner's exempt list based on his talks with the league office. And part of the belief as to why he won't be placed on there, at least for right now, is because there's currently no official charges filed. It was reported by some that charges were filed last week and that it was a 3rd-degree felony for allegedly assaulting a pregnant woman. But since that came out, the woman involved spoke out and called this incident a huge misunderstanding and said no one assaulted anyone. So while I don't really feel the need to get into the details of the situation of Von Miller's case at the moment, the gist is Von Miller is going through some things right now with allegations involving DV, and with the Bills deciding to have him trending towards playing, it drew a mixed response online, even from Bills fans. Air Raid Buffalo said that the Bills could have let the process play out while telling Von to stay home and making him inactive during this time while more details are gathered. And other Bills fans are simply wanting Von not to play anyway because he has not been producing out there on the football field as it is this season. The Bills organization said they knew that deciding to let Von continue to play would upset some, but if they decided to remove him for the time being, not letting him play, people would be unhappy with that decision as well, considering there aren't yet any formal charges filed. And with all that being said, many within Chiefs Kingdom are obviously unhappy about that because even though Justyn Ross had his charges dropped on November 27th after his case was approved for diversion, he still remains on the commissioner's exempt list. For example, Chiefs Focus finds it strange Ross is still on there as he never had an infraction prior to this in his life, yet this isn't Von's first rodeo, allegedly. I'm not an expert on Von's past personally, but he's still practicing and set to play Sunday. And there are many others out there sharing that same mindset. Some think Von is receiving special treatment because he's a high-profile athlete on a big contract. Meanwhile, Ross is merely a UDFA that hasn't really made an impact on the field. Another said that the NFL treats some players different than others, even at the same times when it comes to disciplinary action for the same accusations, and I can see where that thought process is coming from. I mean, the charges for Ross have been dropped, so why is he still on the commissioner's exempt list, which makes him unable to practice or play with the team? Well, I honestly have zero idea. Maybe it'll happen soon, but that is up to the sole discretion of the commissioner. And then regarding Von Miller, the whole thing seems to lean on the fact that no official charges have been filed, though if they ever do, maybe he could find himself on that list in the meantime, but he's certainly not on there right now. And while I do think the return of Justyn Ross won't do anything crazy for the Chiefs offense, considering he's had like 3 catches for 34 yards, I am curious to see if the league will actually remove Justyn Ross from this list here soon in light of the Von Miller situation, considering the fact that Ross's charges have indeed been dropped. Of course, Ross could still face a suspension, albeit maybe not until next season, but Von Miller could as well, depending on how things play out with him, even if charges aren't filed. Now, I think that's the most hopeful outcome of the situation for the time being, to see Ross removed from the commissioner's exempt list due to the fact his charges are indeed dropped. And before I export this video, I do want to add this part because depending on where you look, some websites are saying his charges have been dropped. It's basically done. However, KC Star and one other website that I found, they said charges could be dropped after a period of time after the Johnson County District Court approved his diversion agreement. So while some believe his charges have completely been dropped, I have seen a couple of websites saying that they could be dropped here in the near future, though his diversion agreement has been reached. And if that indeed is the case, then maybe that's why Justyn Ross isn't yet removed from the commissioner's exempt list. Do you guys agree with that? Also, what are your thoughts in general on the situation between Von Miller and Justyn Ross? Do you see it as the league isn't consistent with things like this, or do you actually agree with Von Miller still being able to play since, again, there's no formal charges yet filed? Let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments down below, and on your way out, make sure to go comment HBT Chiefs on Chiefs Bid's private Facebook group for your chance to win that Isaiah Pacheco helmet. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?